is it time for the legal portion of the program?
I believe so. I think we need some legal help right about now. Yeah.
Right about now, we'll get some legal help. And we should mention this is pre-recorded due to the schedule of our legal analyst, Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084. This was pre-recorded yesterday, but is certainly still apropos on some cases that Stephen is involved in. Brian, do you have that tape queued? Is Kippelman ready with the cassette, or how do we go about this?
We have the recording ready, and we'll play it right now.
All right, everybody, we mentioned this was going to happen, and now it is about to take place. There has been news of skullduggery, of the legal persuasion afoot in the world of professional wrestling, total malfeasance of a tortish nature with malice aforethought and a disregard for the written writs of righteousness. And who are Jim Cornette and Brian Last comment on this? For one thing, I'm just a simple small-town bird lawyer. And Brian passed the bar a number of times, but also he went into the bar several times, and that prevented him from doing all of his homework. He's not qualified. So therefore, we have to go for legal issues to the consigliere of the cult of Cornette, the king of torts, the baron of the barristers, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. He'll sue the rest.
Folks, without doubt, the man to turn to if you have a legal issue that needs sorting out, separating fact from fiction, right from wrong. He's on the line right now, direct from newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084. That number, of course, imprinted in all of our psyches. The legendary Stephen P. New. Stephen, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me on, Jim. How you doing, Brian?
Just fine, Steve.
Brian was leaning over trying to plug something in and was caught unawares by that lateral segue pass. But we've been kind of alluding to this, Stephen, on the program over the past few weeks, but we didn't want to overstep our boundaries as mere legal laymen in a shark-infested legal system. We didn't want to say the wrong thing, so we've come to the man himself. You're involved in this. Joey Ryan, former noted wrestling personality and currently scourge of the world, has been canceled by polite society over revelations or allegations of things that he has done in the past, and a pattern of being a rotten person. Many people have mentioned dates and places and issues and things that happened. And in response to that, he's been suing everybody in sight. And you've come into contact with a young man that was named in one of these suits. And so give us the scoop on exactly what the former Dick Spot guy, I don't think he's going to ever be perpetrating that in a wrestling ring again, but the former Dick Spot guy and current lawsuit perpetrator is doing in response to these people's stories.
Well, thanks, Jim. Just to set this up, last spring of 2020, there was this speaking out movement in the sport of professional wrestling. It kind of started in Great Britain and then took hold over here in the United States. And people who had been victims of sexual assault or some misconduct started speaking out. Others who had knowledge of that encouraged others, prominent figures in the professional wrestling industry, to not employ these people. And that's kind of where it intersects with my involvement with this young man from southeastern Pennsylvania, goes by the name of Pelle Primo. And Pelle Primo had recorded a YouTube video, put it out on social media. It was about 35, 40 minutes long, detailing some of the misdeeds of Joseph Meehan, professionally known as Joey Ryan. And late in 2020, Mr. Meehan decided to sue not only Pelle Primo, he sued Impact Wrestling for breach of contract down in Nashville, Tennessee, sued several young ladies and some others for what had been stated on social media. I took that as kind of a slap back at his accusers in an attempt maybe to rehab his public image. And he sued each one of these defendants for $15 million. He did it out in California, despite the fact that some of these people, like Pelle Primo, had never been to the state of California, had no contacts with the state of California. So in about October or November, Primo contacted me and said, look, you're the only lawyer I know. I don't really know anybody. Can you help me? Or would you help me?
That's a great introduction, by the way. That's a great introduction, though. Hey, you're the only lawyer I know. Fortunately, no, Pelle, he hasn't had to come in contact with many attorneys, and that's a good thing. And he leads a fine and upstanding life using his left and right turn indicators for doing that. But you have become somewhat of a established figure in the wrestling world, and so he maybe he's a listener, but he knew to turn to you when no one else could help.
Yeah, he is a devout listener of these podcasts. I can tell you that. He always asks about you when we're talking, and and so he's like, hey, look, I hear your name all over the place. Is there anything you can do to help? I said, well, you got a California lawyer that can get me admitted out there? And he said, well, I think I've got one. A very nice gentleman by the name of Jeff Lewis. The lawsuit was in the Central District Federal Court in California. And so I filed, along with Mr. Lewis's assistants, motion to dismiss that case because Pelle had no contact with the state of California. We had a hearing on December 22nd, and the federal court agreed with me that this case didn't need to belong in California. All of the allegations, Jim, were brought under California law, libel, slander, all different interference with contract, and all manners of things leading up to the punitive damages claim and the claim for $15 million. And, he and his lawyer really wanted it in California. And we got that moved back east to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's in federal court in Allentown now. And we're going to move forward defending the case there now. Pelle's had a GoFundMe that's been fairly successful. A lot of people, strange bedfellows, if you will, people from, types of wrestling that you and I aren't big fans of, but are fans of Pelle's and think that this is wrong and have come to his aid and actually donated. So here we are. We're at a period where we've still got a little bit of time to file a response, possibly a countersuit. And I just wanted to say thank you to fans of the sport of professional wrestling who know what's going on here. This is a bully attempting to bully in the legal arena, and we just don't like bullies, Jim.
Well, wait a minute. You mean Pelle Primo doesn't have $15 million and to spare? If and the other young lady, and let me say this at the start also. It's everybody's right to defend themselves and their honor if they've been slandered or libeled or whatever. And with that speaking out movement, as we know, for about 3 days, I was just the worst person in the world too. But in this case, it's not a couple of people in the basement somewhere said, "Oh, let's fucking fix this guy up." These were multiple people over multiple years with citing specific instances that happened or places. And in response to these, many people, I don't think Ryan Nemeth will probably be slandered if I say he was a proponent of some of these stories. And many people that had any type of friendship with or working relationship with or been around Ryan said, yeah. Not like, oh my gosh, or no, I never heard of it. No, yeah, we knew it all along. So what's happening here is
and it was a
going
power
back.
play. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's going back and he's suing a bunch of people that don't have any money for $15 million. And with, I don't know if we can mention the young lady's name, but he got a judgment against another young female wrestler who didn't have the money to hire an attorney. So now what's she got to do to get out of that? Just go file bankruptcy and ruin her credit?
Yes, she will probably most likely be forced to file bankruptcy. Any of these defendants, if they're not able to satisfy a judgment. The interesting thing about that, Jim, is that intentional conduct and punitive damages can't be bankrupt out. I got a judgment against a guy that almost beat a guy to death with an aluminum baseball bat at a bowling alley.
Hey,
and,
you were supposed to talk. I told you
filed...
not to talk about that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Different instance. My understanding was you just took a rear view mirror off a guy's car with a baseball bat. But anyway, the defendant in that case went and filed bankruptcy and bankrupted out everything except our punitive damages claim. And that judgment's still out there. My client's still collecting that to this day. So my point is, Meehan is sued for intentional conduct and punitive damages. So bankruptcy is only a limited option for these defendants if he wants to pursue that doggedly for a number of years. And that's no fun. You know, the young lady that you mentioned, he got default judgment against her. Default judgment is when somebody doesn't respond to a lawsuit. So at that point, the matter of did she do it is over. It's already been established by judicial order, and it becomes a matter of damages at that point. And unfortunately, you know, I wish that she would have responded to that. The other young ladies in the other suit got their case dismissed on a similar grounds because it wasn't served. The lawsuit wasn't served on them in a timely manner, but it was dismissed without prejudice, meaning it can be refiled in an area where they live, much like.
Okay, so what's the goal here? Because I assume, have any of these people since that have been sued said, "Oh, I take it back. I didn't really mean those things," or "Those things I said about Joey Ryan weren't true," or "I wouldn't say this under oath at a court of law"? Have any of them said that?
No.
Or is it just that we will say this in court, but now it's going to cost us thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to do this on purpose, and that's what he's going for? What's going on here, Stephen?
Well, truth is an absolute defense to a claim of defamation, libel, or slander. So if you can prove that what you said was true, that's an absolute defense to the types of claims that Joey Ryan has made. Not only that, the intentional interference with contract. You know, Ryan has said that his bar wrestling has done poorly as a result of these statements. Ryan has said that he lost his contract with Impact because of this, that he's lost opportunities to wrestle for everyone from the WWE to, you know, your local wrestling promoter. So those people are going to have to be deposed. Number one, did you have any intention of bringing Joey Ryan on your wrestling show? Number two, is what my client, Pelly Primo, said, that lead to you canceling some kind of a contract or deal that you had with Joey Ryan? So that's what has to be fleshed out.
And I would think that he's probably thinking that this will discourage anybody else that may have corroborating stories to come forward and go through all of this rigmarole.
Right. It's a chilling exercise. It's a power play and an attempt to chill those who may have knowledge about the kind of person that he was, and, telling girls, do this, and, you'll get a spot on tonight's show, or you got to sleep with me if you want to continue to wrestle for bar wrestling, or, whatever the allegations are that the people have made. He absolutely wants to chill further discussion about that in an attempt to rehab his public image, and the hopes that, after this speaking out movement is over, maybe somebody will let me wrestle somewhere.
Boy, that bar wrestling, that sounds like that would have been a huge moneymaker over the last 12 months.
Well, according to the documents here, he made $300,000 over the course of 3 or 4 years. It's spelled out in his lawsuit, and he filed like a 19-page affidavit when Pelly's case was still in California. So, that's a matter of public record if anyone wants to go and look it up.
He's going on pre-pandemic numbers, though. I don't know how many people he could have crammed into a bar wrestling in California over the last 12 months or so. Yeah.
Right. Remind me to stay socially distanced from that, Jim. So.
Yeah, well, we've been socially distancing Joey Ryan for a long time, me and Brian both.
Hey, Steve, if I could ask a question, the state of California has pretty strict anti-slap suit laws on the books, don't they?
They do?
Wouldn't you say these are slap suits? Am I wrong?
Well, yes, and you bring up a good point. Brian, I can tell you've been slapped a few times yourself there. But California has anti-slap suits. And so the court in Pennsylvania, the suit was brought alleging violations of California law. One of the first things this judge in Pennsylvania is going to have to make a determination about is, does California law apply, or does Pennsylvania law apply? In which case, if California law is applicable, we would get to countersue with the anti-slap provisions. If Pennsylvania law applies, we would not. If we have other grounds for countersuit, it could be that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds when the federal judge up there makes a decision about which law applies, California law or Pennsylvania law, even though we are in the Eastern District of PA.